Hello all, welcome to Acadgild's full stack web development program. In this video, you will look into understanding Mongoose ODM and setting up Mongoose, connecting to MongoDB database via Mongoose, defining a contact schema and creating a model, updating routes to query the database using contact model, testing the API and verifying if the contact data is retrieved from the database, enabling CORS. Let us now work on integrating our Node.js API with MongoDB server. We will be working through the following steps: install Mongoose, connect to MongoDB database, define a contact schema and create a model, update the routes that we defined in the previous step, update the routes to query the database using the contact model, test the API and verify if both endpoints work fine. Finally, enable CORS. CORS here stands for Cross-Origin Resource Sharing. Let us first install Mongoose. Let me first go to the directory where my application resides and use the command npm install mongoose. What is Mongoose? Mongoose is a MongoDB ODM. ODM stands for Object Data Mapping. It enables you to add structure to MongoDB documents through schema. It allows you to define objects with a strongly typed schema that is mapped to a MongoDB document. Now, once we add Mongoose, we can see we have a new dependency on Mongoose. Installing Mongoose adds all its dependencies, including the MongoDB database driver. Before installing Mongoose, you will have to make sure that MongoDB and Node.js are installed on your PC. So we already have both MongoDB and Node.js installed in our system. Now, once Mongoose has been added to our project, we'll have to connect to the MongoDB database. So let's see how to connect to MongoDB database. For that, let me go to app.js. So first thing that we need to do here is we'll have to import the Mongoose by using require statement. Mongoose requires a connection to a MongoDB database. You can connect to a locally hosted database using mongoose.connect method. Let us make a change to our code. Import Mongoose. Then we include mongoose.connect. We require a connection object, and we also define certain callbacks. So we create a connection object here, and then we register callbacks to two events. One is the open event, which occurs when the database is successfully connected, and the other event is if there is any kind of error. So we attach a callback function in case of any errors. So this is how we connect to MongoDB database. Let me save this. The mongoose.connect method takes in a URL, and the URL will contain the name of the database that we need to connect to. Now let us try to test this connectivity. If I run this application and if the connection to MongoDB server is successful, I should see this message on the console, which is successfully connected to Contact Manager database server. Let me come to a command prompt. I have started MongoDB server by making use of MongoD command. The server is started. Now let me go to another command prompt where my server code is residing and issue npm start. So when I issue this command, our application will try to contact, or it tries to establish a connectivity with the server. And you can see we have a successfully connected to contact manager database server message being displayed in the console. Next, we define a schema and create a model. The schema allows you to define the fields stored in each document along with their validation requirements and default values. Let's create a schema. Within my application, let me create a folder for storing the models, and let me create a new file, contact.js. Within contact.js, let me import Mongoose and create a schema. So we make use of mongoose.schema, and then using this schema object, we create a new schema. The constructor takes in a JavaScript object where we can specify the field and type of each of the fields within the document. So in this scenario, our contacts will have name, phone, email, and image URL, all of type strings. After defining the schema, we create a model. Models are created from schemas using a mongoose.model method. Each model maps to a collection of documents in MongoDB database. So as informed, we make use of mongoose.model. This particular method is going to take two parameters. The first argument is the singular name of the collection. If we are dealing with contacts collection, we use a singular name, which is contact. The second parameter is the schema. So mongoose.model is going to return a model object. That model object is going to be exported so that it can be imported in another file in order to work with the collection. The model represents a collection of documents in the database. Once you have a model, you can use it to find, create, update, and delete objects of the given type. The model's instances represent individual documents which you can save and retrieve from the database. Now that we have defined a model, let us use this model and query the documents. For this, we'll have to update the code written for handling the routes. Let me go open the contacts route file. The model provides several static methods to query documents within a collection. One of the method is called as the find method. It is used to retrieve documents. We specify the query condition as a JSON object and pass it as an argument to the find method. Let me update this code here. Let me remove the old code and update the code to call the find method on the model. Let me also update the code that is required for searching the contacts. So we can see that the model is contact in our scenario. We will have to import it at first. As I informed before, this model contains a find method, and for the first route, which gets us the list of all the contacts, we don't require any search parameter. So I'm passing an empty JavaScript object. So this informs MongoDB to retrieve all the contacts which are there in the collection. The find method returns us a query object, and this query object has an exit method. The exit method is going to take a callback function. The moment we call the exit method, it issues the query operation to the database. And once that query operation is complete, this callback function is called. The function takes in two arguments. First parameter is the error object. In case if there is any error, this object would be populated. And if the query is successfully executed, we get the data in the second parameter. So the code here checks whether there is an error object. If there is an error object, we send a 400, which is a bad request, back to the client. If there is no error, we take the data and send it back to the client. So that's about getting the list of all the contacts. In the search contact scenario, we issue the same find command, but the parameter to the find command will have the query criteria, which is nothing but the search condition. So here we are trying to take in the search text, which is coming as parameter, and trying to search that particular text within either the name, phone, or email. Other things remain the same. This returns a query object on which we execute this method called as exec, which takes in a callback function as a parameter. The callback function receives the error object or data object. In case if there is no errors, we send the data object back to the client application. If there is an error, we send a HTTP 400 error code with the error object. So that completes the query which is required to retrieve the list of contacts as well as search the contacts. We are going to see next, we will test and verify this API, whether it retrieves the data from the database. Let us now test our APIs. Let me start MongoDB server. MongoDB server is started. Let me start the application. Application has started, and we can see that the application has successfully connected to the database server. Let me open a browser window and navigate to localhost :3000 / let me go to the root URL. Let me issue contacts. So the moment I press and enter here, I should be able to see the list of contacts. Before pressing and enter, let us verify whether our server contains some contacts. Let me go to the Mongo shell, show the list of DBs. We have contact manager database. Let us switch to the contact manager database. Let me issue db.contacts.find command. And we can see that we have 4 documents within this collection. So if I navigate to localhost :3000 / contacts, I should be able to see those 4 contacts here. And we can see the contacts, these contacts are now coming from the database. Now let's test the search API. by issuing some search text. Let me try to search for a contact who has a name Ram. So I can observe that we are able to see the search results. Let me issue one more search. Let me issue a search to find out or get all the contacts who have ABC or XYZ in their email address. Press and enter. You can see that we have two contacts who have email with xyz.com. So this completes the verification of our two APIs that we have developed. The last step in this demo is to enable CORS. CORS stands for Cross-Origin Resource Sharing. It is a mechanism that uses additional HTTP headers to tell a browser to let a web application running on one domain or origin have permission to access resources from a server at a different domain or origin. So in order to enable CORS, we'll have to update the code within app.js. The code that is needed is this. I will just enable this by adding this code at the top, just after setting up the view engine. So once I save this, let us rerun the application. And test again /contacts. So which is giving us the list of all the contacts. /contacts search /hurry. So which is giving me the required contact. So this completes the API development as well as connectivity with the database. So we have the complete backend setup ready. Next, we are going to look into creating a client application using React. Thank you for watching this tutorial. In the next video, you will look into setting up React and creating a React application.
Acadgild. Average is dead.